welcome to Morris Chambers TV, Let's Talk. I'm Mike Stanzilis, the Vice President of Business Development and Membership for the Morris County Chamber of Commerce. And with me today, I also have Ed Ramirez from the Morris County Economic Development Corporation. So today we are truly honored to have Mikie Sherill, Congresswoman from the 11th District, as our guest. So Congresswoman Sherill is the freshman whip for the new Democrat coalition and sits on the House Armed Services Committee and House Science, Space, and Technology Committee. She is also the chairwoman of the Environment Subcommittee for the Science, Space, and Technology Committee. Now, during the pandemic, Congresswoman Sherill has worked to support federal measures to bring relief to small businesses, state and local governments, and the residents of North Jersey. She recently introduced the SMART Act, bipartisan legislation to provide direct support to state and local governments. And she also formed a bipartisan regional task force with Republican Congressman Peter King of New York. Congresswoman Sherill, welcome to our show.
Thanks so much for having me.
So I'm going to start with a very important question, and it's on a lot of people's minds, and it's something that I've given a lot of thought to. Do you still fly helicopters?
You know, I get that question all the time, and it's interesting. So I flew during some commercials we were shooting. I was a little surprised the camera guys got in the back of that helicopter because I hadn't flown in a while, but it was great. And then probably one of the most amazing things I've done since I've been in Congress is I had the opportunity to go to Normandy for the 75th anniversary of D-Day. And my grandfather flew over Normandy, so it was really moving. And we actually flew helicopters into Normandy, so that was amazing, but rarely, not as much as I'd like.
Wow, what an amazing experience flying into Normandy like that, you know, reliving history. So, well, thank you so much for your service to our country, and thank you for being here today. So let's get right to it. The bipartisan task force with Peter King of New York, a Republican, it's a recovery task force. First of all, it takes a lot of courage to reach across the aisle, which you've done. And you've also done it here locally in New Jersey with State Senator Bucco. So tell us a little bit about, you know, reaching across the aisle to get these things done and what the goal of this recovery task force is and what have you gotten accomplished so far?
Sure. So I made a commitment as I was running for office that I would work to do the best I could, get the best possible legislation passed, work hard on the best possible issues for the 11th District of New Jersey. And as you know, this is a district with a lot of different political opinions, people on both sides of the aisle, but we all come together on a lot of key things as well. We all want to get rid of the state and local tax deduction cap. We want to get Gateway funded. So I've tried to find those issues that bring people together and work hard on the issues that are going to make people's day-to-day lives better. And they're not asking me to do everything the Democrats say to do. They're not asking me to do everything the Republicans say to do. They're asking me to work really hard with the people that I can find agreement with to get good things passed in our region. And so when we faced the coronavirus crisis, it made sense to reach out to people in the Northeast corridor, members from both sides of the aisle, so we could bring the largest coalition together possible to really address the needs here.
Yeah, that's really great. And, you know, I think people around here really appreciate this working together and not retreating to our ideological corners when we really need you out there on the front lines for us. So you'd mentioned the Gateway Tunnel. Let's talk about infrastructure a little bit. New Jersey, most densely populated state. Our roads get barraged on a regular basis. Our infrastructure is really taxed. We have the harsh winters, a lot of revenue, a lot of commerce flowing through and in and out of the state. Where are we with the Gateway, and what's your vision for getting that done?
That's a great question. In fact, I have been called in Congress the tunnel-obsessed Congresswoman because Gateway is such a critical piece of our infrastructure, such a critical piece of our economic future here in North Jersey. And yet, as you correctly pointed out, that is just the first step. We've got to get that tunnel funded. It really will make a huge difference and impact not only on our economy, but to the quality of life of so many of our commuters, including my husband. However, that's just the first step. All of our roads in Morris County are over capacity. The businesses that we really want to invest in are finding it hard to recruit from too far away because the commute is just too difficult. So that's the first step. But really, what we need is a regional infrastructure plan for where are we headed in North Jersey for the next 50 years? What is the plan? How are we going to grow the economy while at the same time improve the quality of life and people's ability to get around our area?
Yeah, and I really appreciate the long-term view that you have because, that's what infrastructure is meant to be. It's meant to last us a long time, our bridges, roads, and tunnels. Let's take a step back and talk a little bit about the pandemic, where you're introducing something called the SMART Act. And where are we with the SMART Act, and how is that going to benefit this area of New Jersey? And I know this is, we're the Morris County Chamber of Commerce, so we really deal with businesses. That is a lot of municipalities, counties, and state governments, but certainly there has to be some impact on the business community as well.
So, when we look at what we need to do to recover from this, it's so critical that we invest in our towns and municipalities, especially because North Jersey was one of the worst hit regions in the entire country. Because we had such a high caseload here, we had to shut down early. We're just now starting to open up. So it's so critical that we get money into our states and in our municipalities. As you probably know, Morris County lost out on some of the direct federal funding by just a couple thousand people. The cutoff was 500,000, a population side of 500,000, and Morris County had 494,000. And yet here we are with one of the highest caseloads in the country, providing morgue services for 3 counties, providing testing sites, contact tracing, you name it. We've worked hard in Morris County to make sure that we're taking care of people. So we really need some direct federal investment. That's what the SMART Act does. It's $500 billion to states and local governments so that we can really get the money that we need here in North Jersey. Senator Menendez introduced the Bipartisan Act in the Senate, and I'm carrying it in the House. It's got a lot of broad bipartisan support, including Representative King, as I had worked with him. And it's something that as I work with people on the ground here in New Jersey, all of my mayors, Senator Bucco, they really said, this is the direct investment that we need to see here.
The money that comes in, I know the county has spent a decent amount of money, and really we have to thank our freeholders for getting the testing site up at the college. Will that money be able to pay back the money that's already been spent, or is that for money spent going forward?
So it will pay for all the stuff that we put into the coronavirus. As you probably know, New Jersey sometimes gets the short end of the stick when it comes to federal funding. And I think what's been critical about the SMART Act is Senator Menendez wrote large pieces of that bill with an eye on the needs of our state. So a third of it is based on population size, but a third of it is based on the need, who's been hit by coronavirus the hardest, and a third of it's based on economic need as well.
Yeah, so there can't be any sort of shenanigans in the distribution of it, if you will, based on, towns that are in good shape that may not even need it.
Well, it's just so frustrating, quite frankly. And I'll tell you, when I first started to work with Representative Peter King and Mitch McConnell said, let states and local governments go bankrupt, I thought, steam was going to come out of his ears. He said, this is how they always treat the Northeast region. When we need help for Sandy, we can't get help. Nobody wants to help us. And yet when they have flooding in Houston, everybody's there. So I think it's critical that we really start to advocate strongly for the needs of the Northeast region. And to do that, we all have to come together. And that's something that isn't like I said, that's not a Democratic issue. That's not a Republican issue. That's a regional issue that we can all agree on.
Right, that's a real people issue. Absolutely, absolutely. So we have with us also Ed Ramirez from the Morris County Economic Development Corporation. Ed really has his finger on the pulse of the businesses that are his members of the EDC. Ed, is there any question or questions you think that the EDC would like to ask of the Congresswoman?
Yes, Congresswoman. One of the key questions I'm getting, I wrote it down, is this. It has to do with the P and small businesses. Due to New Jersey opening later than other states, the 8 weeks of protection toward forgiveness of the PPP will not be long enough. Is there anything being done to extend this? The forgiveness of the program.
Yeah, so we passed in the House in a widely bipartisan bill, I think it was 417 to 1, the PPP Flexibility Act That was then passed through the Senate so that we can provide more flexibility, including moving the 8 weeks to 24 weeks. But what I think we're also seeing here, because not only are we opening later, we also shut down earlier. We have a lot of businesses that took that first tranche of funding. And we were just talking about this with my team this morning, some of the casework calls we've gotten in. Businesses that took those loans very early and are running out of money and may still delay people off, even though they're ready now to open up. So there's still $1 billion left in the program. We'd love to see even more flexibility and some more direct investment into New Jersey businesses so that we can continue to keep people on payroll and then open up our businesses.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Congresswoman.
Thank you.
It's interesting. We shut, like you brought up a great point. We shut down earlier and we're opening up later. So we're getting hit on both sides of this.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So if you could call the governor and say, hey, let's get things open, our businesses would greatly appreciate that also.
Well, I applaud everyone. The Morris County Chamber and Senator Bucco really put together a great plan. I know I wrote a letter early on with Senator Bucco as we were just looking at businesses, and the governor did open up those businesses, the curbside delivery. So we just have to keep, I think, safely opening up our businesses here. And that's just really the key to get the economy back on track. Is, you know, we pass broad federal legislation, but certainly one size doesn't fit all. And we've got to continue to do more.
That's absolutely right. And I love hearing your family in the background. This is the reality of life now in this pandemic. Well, everybody's working from Zoom and we hear their kids and their dogs barking. It's a lot of fun. You don't have to mute yourself. We'll listen to them. And I can see them running. I don't know if you know, but they're running back and forth behind you.
I'm not sure why they're doing that, but yes, this is unfortunately for a lot of parents, this is the new reality.
This is a new reality, absolutely. So we're gonna, finish up with one new reality question here. Based on this new reality, when we go back to our quote unquote new norm, what is gonna be one of the first things that you're gonna wanna do that you haven't been able to do with this reality that we're in now, when we get back open?
If we were back to normal, I would love to go out to dinner with just my husband, not my children. Just one night where we could have a conversation. That would be lovely.
That's a good one. That's a real good one. And I hope you get to do that very soon.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. So here at the Morris County Chamber of Commerce, we really want to thank you for all the great work you're doing and for being here for us today. We also want to thank our sponsor, Tilcon, and that's Josh Benson of Tilcon. Without their generosity, we wouldn't be able to bring this program to you. So thank you, Congresswoman Sherill, for being here today. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
And also on behalf of the Economic Development Corporation, we appreciate all that you're doing for New Jersey.
Thank you so much.
All right.